My family and I moved to Japan from the UK in September 2023. I decided to go back because I needed to sort a few things out. I didn't go with my daughter or my husband because the flights are so expensive, so I was feeling quite emotional when I left. My journey to London begins. I haven't been to London for over 2.5 years, so I wasn't really too sure what to expect. There was a small part of me that was a bit worried that I'd want to live in the UK again. I do struggle with the language in Japan, and just being able to read and write is such a breath of fresh air. I took the bus from Fukuoka to Narita Airport. As I've got older, I think I've become a more anxious traveller, which means I got to the airport 6 hours early. The last time that I travelled to the UK, I nearly missed my bus and I just did not want a repeat of that. Also, I think the airport is a really nice place to explore. You can see here there's a really nice knife shop. I only bought some stickers because my bag was already slightly overweight. Before I got to the airport, I promised myself that I wouldn't have Starbucks, but the queues for all the other restaurants were so long that I ended up having Starbucks as usual. The last time I travelled to London, my daughter was only 1 year old and she couldn't really understand what was going on. She thought that I spent the whole week on a bus last time. Now that she's 4, she does understand a lot more, so I was a bit worried. I had a stop off in Abu Dhabi, which was really nice. Before I settled down, I spent quite a lot of time in the Middle East and I do miss going there. As you travel through these countries, you can really see how the culture changes. I think they had some Eid celebrations going on. Unfortunately, because I didn't have much time, I couldn't buy anything. But I do really love the chocolate covered dates that they have there. They also had a Boots the Chemist there. It's the first time I've travelled by Etihad and I had a really good experience. So here I am arriving in London, greeted by the beautiful weather. Unfortunately, there was a tube strike that day, which was a bit of a pain, but luckily the Elizabeth line was still running and I managed to get home using that and getting a bus. When you look at flats in the UK, you very rarely see washing hanging, which is so different from Japan. This is the first time that I've noticed how much graffiti there is in London. I'm not sure if it's increased or it's just because I'm not used to seeing it that it feels like there's more. Sometimes it does look quite artistic, but most of the time it looks really bad. You can see here also that the style of houses are very different from Japan. Everywhere you go in London now, they seem to be building flats. Because of the tube strike, that train was really packed. And of course it wouldn't be London without an argument on the train. The trains feel so loud now that I've spent so much time in Japan. I got off the train at Tottenham Court Road and I needed the toilet, but of course there's no toilet in the station. Luckily I did find a toilet in Primark, which was great because my bus journey would take 1 hour to get home. If you do travel on this 29 bus at night, usually there is trouble on there. There were quite a few new restaurants and shops that had opened in central London since the last time I'd been there. So this was the last part of my journey home. One thing that I do miss seeing are traditional pubs. I've only ever seen one in Takasaki. My friend kindly left me a bag of shopping outside my door. I popped to Lidl, which is a little bit similar to Gyomu in Japan. They have quite a lot of international foods and they're very reasonably priced. The fruits and vegetables at Lidl's are so cheap. One thing that I really miss in Japan is being able to buy different kinds of dips. I really like this olive and cheese combo. I think this might be available in Yalco now. How much do you think this shop costs? I'll put the answer at the end. One thing that I do really miss about the UK is the food. Because the UK is so multicultural, there are so many different types of foods available. I also think there is more variety of health foods in the UK compared to Japan. It's really easy to get your hands on wholemeal bread and seedy bread in the UK. My husband really loves these OTs and we always ask for them if someone comes over. I really like these seasoning mix sachets too. And I do really like jammy dodgers because they remind me of my childhood. And of course, every time I go to London, I do stock up on medicines. Medicines are a lot cheaper in London and I think they might be a little bit stronger. You are only allowed to purchase 2 packets of painkillers at a time though. When making a decision to move abroad, of course you think about your friends and family that you're going to leave behind. But one thing I do struggle with is dealing with those who are no longer with us. Going to the cemetery really gives me a sense of closeness. And obviously I can only go to the cemetery if I go to London. So on the day I arrived in London, I went straight to the cemetery. I do really think it's sad that they have to put signs around saying that there's thieves in the cemetery. It almost feels like there's no parts of London that are safe anymore. I found these fruity foot socks and I thought they might be nice presents for the neighbours. So many people in our area work in agriculture and I thought they could do with a little bit of pampering. I might give one to my husband too. I arrived in London yesterday, so this is day 2, and I already feel like London is definitely not for me anymore. It started with an incident on the aeroplane. I think someone was trying to sleep and then someone else was talking and he just got really angry. He started swearing and shouting, and I'm just not used to it anymore. Then when I landed, there was a tube strike, so I couldn't get the Piccadilly line to my house. I did find an alternative route, but I think it took me about 2.5 hours to get home. The Elizabeth line was still running, but because the other tubes were on strike, everyone was trying to use it and it was just so busy. So there was another argument on the train. I don't know if someone was too close to someone else, but I just thought, oh God, I just can't deal with it. I think not being here for 2.5 years, I've also realised how dirty London is. I went past Finsbury Park and it was so dirty. There was so much rubbish around, almost like there had been a festival or something had gone on. Also, I'm not sure if it was like this before, but I definitely think there's an increase in people who've got mental health problems. Walking down the street, I see a lot of people talking to themselves, and also there was a man urinating against Boots, which is a chemist, and he was obviously not well because he was just weeing all over his trousers. The only other really noticeable thing for me, coming back from Japan after 2.5 years, I feel like everyone is so tall. I'm not particularly tall, but living in Japan, I've never had an occasion where I can't reach something in the supermarket. But over here, they tend to store things higher up, so it's definitely a difference in height. Anyway, as much as I'm saying that I don't like London, I did actually get this bag, which is it's like a London Underground edition. So even though the London Underground let me down, I did really like this bag, and because it was my birthday, my husband wanted to get me something that I wanted. The reason I chose the Piccadilly line is because that's where my mum's house is, and also my dad's house was on the Piccadilly line as well. So even though I don't usually go for blue, I thought I would go for blue this time. It has a little London Underground logo here. I did go for the bigger size one because even though my daughter's getting bigger, I still need to carry her around quite a bit. We also have the London Underground keyring on here. And also it comes with 2 free straps. I didn't choose the Piccadilly line one because I didn't really like it, but I chose 2 blue ones. One thing that I must say that I do like about London is obviously I know exactly what to do and where to do it. Although today I did have a bit of a moment with a wet umbrella, because in Japan they provide everything to deal with wet umbrellas, but over here they don't. I was a little bit worried when I booked my ticket that maybe coming back here, being able to read and write, it really is like a breath of fresh air. Maybe it would tempt me to want to come back, but I think the answer is definitely no. I do miss friends and family a lot, and a lot of food as well, but Japan is the place for me. It's so nice, and if there are any Japanese people watching this, please understand how lucky you are to have such an amazing country. So here we go. One thing that I do love about the UK is you don't have to sort out your recycling. You just put it in the bin and the council sorts it out. My breakfasts haven't been traditional English breakfasts. I guess you would call this more of a Mediterranean style, but because I only have a week in London, I just ate the things that I really missed. And the good old meal deal, of course I had to have one of those as well. And I managed to catch up with my sister, which was nice. I did spend quite a lot of time on public transport. Littering is a big problem in the UK. Nando's is one of my favourite restaurants. It serves South African cuisine. If there is that 1 in a billion chance that someone from Nando's is watching this, please open a branch in Japan. Each Nando's has a different style interior, which keeps it really interesting. I always ordered the same thing, quarter of a chicken with chips and coleslaw. And my friend treated me to a nice brownie for my birthday. I finally had a guacamole fix. As one of the things that I miss in Japan is dips, I think I should buy myself a blender and learn to make them. One problem that has got really out of hand in London is the thieves. You have to always be aware of what is going on around you. I went to Waterloo to go and see my mother-in-law and niece. A great thing about London is you can use your bank card if you don't have an Oyster card. Every time I spoke to my daughter, she asked me if I had bought her Percy pigs. I'm not too sure how I felt about this. On the one hand, I was relieved that she wasn't sad, but on the other hand, I wanted her to miss me a little bit. Here's a little stray pigeon in the Marks and Spencer's bakery. I didn't realise they had so many different types of Percy pigs. They also had a Colin the caterpillar, which I bought for her too. I know sweets are really bad for her, but it makes me feel a little bit better because it says made with real fruit juice. She has them as a treat, and I think this stash will last until someone visits again. I took the tube and I went to meet a friend. We went to a little cafe called Karak Chai in Wood Green. I really love these butterfly lights. I'd love to have them at home. It said in Japanese, "Karaku ga hoshii." This is a samosa chat and it's one of my favourite dishes. We also had a pistachio cake for dessert, which was really nice. I got up early and took the bus to Brent Cross. I had arranged to meet my old work colleagues. I did check the weather forecast and it said rain all day, so I put my Wellington boots on, but I think I was the only one in London wearing wellies. It was so good to catch up on the workplace gossip. And funnily enough, while we were in the cafe, one of the doctors I used to work for turned up. It's really amazing how people manage to graffiti in places that are so hard to reach. This is definitely not a route I would take on my own at night. It was unusual to see a tube station that was just placed in the middle of houses. As you can see, the weather was actually quite nice, so I felt really silly wearing my Wellington boots. I took the tube from Brent Cross station to Victoria. I really love getting on an empty train. Some of the seats are really hard to sit on, but I think the Bakerloo line has really soft seats. You are allowed to eat on the underground, but it also explains why it's so dirty. I was going to meet my father-in-law, which is always nice. He treated me to a meal in Wetherspoons and then we popped to Starbucks afterwards. 2 chai lattes cost £11, which is quite a bit more than Japan. And here we have the traditional big red London bus. This is Victoria Station and it was really nice to see the Union Jack displayed. I think it's easy to take these beautiful old buildings for granted when you live in the UK. I think when I lived there I didn't even really look at them. Victoria Station is huge and it can be quite tricky to find people. These Krispy Kreme shops look really nice. We are quite lucky because we do have Krispy Kreme donuts in Japan. Then I went to Euston to meet one of my closest friends. We met when we started college at age 16. I do have my own drumming set here. Unfortunately, I think it will cost too much to send to Japan. And of course, just a few drumsticks from when I was playing over here. A lot of them did get broken, but these seem to be okay. I had some smoked tofu for breakfast. I'm not sure if they have that in Japan. Then I got the tube to Latimer Road.
Find the gap between the train and the platform.
There actually wasn't a very big gap between the train and the platform here. These trainers are the ones with the holes in the soles that were terrible for rainy days. What do you think about this graffiti? Do you think it's artistic or do you think it makes it look a mess? I couldn't remember exactly, but I think I may have been to these studios once before. I haven't played these songs for over 2.5 years, so it was quite difficult to remember them. And the style is very different to what I play now. We went for lunch together. Of course you can't go to London without having a roast. And now I wish I also had scones, cream and jam. My hands really suffered. This is what a typical high road looks like in London. It was my last day in London, so I went shopping to get a few more bits. I really wanted to make the most of my weight allowance. There was a little performance going on, which was nice. They had these new contraptions to stop people stealing, but you could still get the chocolate out. Maybe the noise is a deterrent. This is the food that I had left over. Unfortunately, my ripen at home mangoes didn't ripen in time, so I left this all for the tenants. I took the first tube, which was at around 5:30, and off I went back to Heathrow Airport. If I'm honest, I didn't really enjoy being in London. Someone did help me with my suitcase though, which I thought was really nice. I went through check-in and security quite quickly, so I had lots of time to look around. Also, my flight was delayed, which is always a little bit scary when you have another flight to catch after. I don't know why, but every single product that Harrods sells looks so delicious. But it was time to come out of holiday mode and start being a bit sensible with money again. I think if I was rich I would try every single product from this shop. Even the jam flavours just look so interesting. I'd love to try the lemon and poppy marmalade. I also really like these Harrods water bottles. If we ever get rich in the future, I think our neighbours will be getting some really nice presents. I had already gone over my baggage allowance, so I wasn't able to buy anything anyway. This Paddington Bear Harrods edition is so cute. Fortnum and Mason is another shop that I'd really love to try all their products. I do think I prefer the food in the UK, especially these posh things. But after this trip, I've definitely decided that the UK isn't the right place for me and my family to live, even though they do have some really nice food. I know my daughter would absolutely love this shop if she was here. I was trying to find somewhere to have some breakfast, but the airport was so busy. I almost went to Wetherspoons, but the meals looked really big and I just fancied more of a snack. So I ended up going to Pret a Manger lounge, and they did have some seats there. It did cost me £9.30 for a muffin and a latte though. It feels much better to see the rain when you're departing rather than arriving. It does feel a little strange not knowing when I'm going back to the UK next. But as long as I have property, I probably will have to make trips to the UK from time to time. I was so excited that I was going to see my daughter again. Also, the thought of taking walks in the mountain and just being really safe made me feel really calm. I really love Japan a lot, and I think this trip has made me appreciate it even more. So it's a goodbye from me to London. Here I am arriving in Abu Dhabi. I really love the Middle East and I'd love to bring my daughter here one day. For me, it has a similar feeling of safety to Japan. And of course I had to check out the Starbucks merchandise. They did have some really pretty things, but I think the ones in Japan are nicer. My next flight was also delayed, which meant I'd miss my bus in Japan. So here I am arriving in Japan. I already feel much happier. Everything looks cute and colourful and welcoming. I did have a 3-hour wait until the next bus. I was really gutted because if I got the previous bus, I would have been able to pick my daughter up from nursery. I did promise myself that if I had time on the way back that I would buy this sumo mug. So here it is, the 5:20 bus to Fukuoka. I did have a bit of a problem with the luggage allowance on the way back. On the way there I was allowed a hand luggage and a backpack, but on the way back they said it was only one piece of hand luggage. They kindly checked in my hand luggage and didn't charge me. These are all the products that I bought while I was in London. I'm a huge Nando's fan, but also when my cousin lived in London, she fell in love with Nando's sauce as well. When I got back, I checked Amazon Japan and they do sell Nando's sauce for 2,199 yen. I'll put a link in the description just in case anybody wants to try it. Unfortunately, they don't have my favourite one, which is garlic, but the other ones are also very nice. You can tell from my London shopping haul the items that I really miss. The only thing I did forget to buy was PG tips. But I think we are getting used to the tea bags over here now. Here are some squashed Eccles cakes. And my friend bought a Mr. Tickle for my daughter as it got stolen out of the parcel. I really like these Child Farms shampoo and body wash, which you can't get in Japan. I also bought some Bear fruit bites for my daughter. They really don't have a huge range of healthy snacks for kids in Japan. And this is the first time I've seen this Choco Lonely. I bought this Guardian for a British lady that I met in Fukuoka. And of course I had to pick up some deodorants for us. I do find that the cereal in the UK isn't as sweet as the cereal in Japan. And my tenants kindly gave us some coffee beans. We don't have a coffee grinder, but this will be the perfect Father's Day present. And some Dubai chocolate, which I love. A little Father's Day gift, which my husband really deserves because he's an amazing father to our daughter. I really love these Carg's crackers. So even though I got some really nice things and I was really happy to see my friends and family, I don't think I do want to go back to London anytime soon. It is 2.5 years since I last visited the UK and I can see quite a few changes. I will start with a positive change. I think there may only be one, but now you can use your phone on the underground at some of the stations. I think before you could connect to the internet once you arrived at a station and then it will disappear when you go back underground, but you can use it more now. I am still very tired and jet lagged, so I may think of more positive changes as I go along. So the negative ones, firstly, the staff at the supermarkets are wearing body cams now. I was speaking to my friend and he was saying that people literally go in the supermarket, fill up their bags and just walk out. Also, the fact that the staff are wearing body cams may mean that they have been attacked. There is so much on social media about stealing in London. The police won't attend unless you steal over a certain value. I did have a little look online and it says if a theft occurs without violence and the thief escapes, the police will rarely attend the scene immediately. Instead, the store logs the crime online and provides evidence like CCTV footage. The police can do and follow up on low-value thefts later, which I don't really think they do. So at the moment, it's very common for people to walk in a shop and fill up their bags and just walk out. The second thing that I noticed was there seemed to be so many more people suffering with mental health problems. I'm not really sure if it was like this before or if I've just got used to not seeing it so much. I do know since COVID the NHS is really on its knees and I don't know if it's something to do with that. But just walking down the street, there's people talking to themselves, there's people urinating on themselves, there's people looking at their own reflection in the shops and having chats. Another thing that I did notice is that people are quite angry. As I mentioned at the beginning of the vlog, there was someone shouting on the aeroplane, but also towards the end of my trip, there's a Mr. Pretzel in the shopping centre near my house. Mr. Pretzels is just like a little cafe where you can buy pretzels and drinks. And there was a customer screaming, she was effing and blinding, swearing and shouting, and I was just like, What has gone wrong there? It looked like someone had thrown a cup of tea. The lady who was working at the cafe didn't say anything, but eventually she started shouting and swearing and all the security came. And my sister, even though she lives in London, she was like, I'm really scared. I also went to a supermarket and there was one person paying at this till and one person paying at this till. And he was shouting over saying, why are you looking at me like that? Almost like he wanted to start a fight or an argument. And it is literally, you can just look at someone in the wrong way in London and you just get into trouble. Also on this trip, I met my tenants for the first time and they told me they were attacked on the high road at 7:30 in the evening. They did say it was a group of teenagers and the youngest one was only 14 years old. But one of them said that he's scared to go out now. So it's really horrible to live like that. They are really, really nice tenants. But I said to them, look, if you have to go, if you have to move, if you don't feel safe, then we can just be flexible. Number 4 is about pickpockets. There is a huge problem with pickpocketers and people snatching phones. But because there's signs everywhere, there's signs written on the pavements, there's signs up on the wall, it makes you feel really nervous about going out. And if anyone is visiting London, I would highly recommend you don't use your phone outside. Number 5 is London is really, really dirty. I will say in London it is a little bit more relaxed, you know, you can eat in the streets and things like that, but it has caused it to be really, really dirty. The parks and streets are just full of rubbish. Of course, it is really unfair for me to compare countryside life to city life. I'm guessing that Tokyo is a lot dirtier than it is around here, but I still don't think Tokyo is as dirty as London. And number 6 is definitely because I've lived in Japan for a while now. Everyone is just so loud. I went to Wetherspoons with my father-in-law and I just could not hear him speaking. But also in general, in streets, in trains and things like that, everyone just seems so much louder now. Another thing that I noticed is how expensive things are now. I know that there is a cost of living crisis in the UK and it could explain why so many people are stealing. Actually, I think the only time that I had a proper belly laugh in London was when I saw the price of an umbrella. One was £20 and another one was £32. And I was just laughing so much because my friend said she'd just rather get wet. I am going to share some items with you. These are items that I found in the airport. Of course, they will be more expensive than the regular shops, but I am just going to show you how ridiculous the prices are. Here's a bag for M&Ms for £7.99. I think this does include the 20% off. A cereal bar for £3.69. A packet of crisps for £2.69. And some sweets for £4.49. And some posh biscuits for £11.95, which I probably would like to buy. Just on the whole, the atmosphere is very, very different. I feel so much more relaxed in Japan. I feel safer, I feel happier. In a way, I do know that my life would be easier in the UK just because I can read and write. Reading and writing is such a struggle out here for me. And when I can just read one sentence without the dictionary, it really feels like a big achievement for me. So all in all, I have no desire to go back to London or live in London. And I don't know if things will change. We can never say never. But at this moment in time, I think Japan is the best place for us. And I really, really appreciate and I'm grateful that Japan has let us live here. I'm really, really thankful. I sound like I've just won an Oscar, but yeah, this is kind of how I feel anyway. Thank you for watching. And I really do hope that I come up with some more positive changes that I noticed in the UK, but just at this moment, I can't think of any. Until the next time, sayonara.